Imagine waking up in the morning and looking out your window, and all you can see in every direction is the ocean. No naves, no traffic noise, no cameras, no public, no rules except yours. This is what it means to own a private island. And in 2026, the ultra-wealthy are buying them faster than at any point in history. Today, we go beyond the price tag. We're not just looking at what these islands cost. We're looking at why the world's richest people are buying them, what they're doing with them, and what the extraordinary stories behind each purchase reveal about how extreme wealth actually works in the modern world. We're talking about a former fishing island bought for $120,000 that is now worth $80 million. A Hawaiian island owned by one single tech billionaire. A Greek island steeped in Jackie Kennedy's love story. Purchased for $153 million and then $200 million more poured into it. An island owned by a magician. And a 1,300-acre Hawaiian fortress with underground bunkers built by one of the most powerful men in Silicon Valley. The global private island market is now valued at over $7.8 billion, and it is growing faster than almost any other ultra-luxury asset class on the planet. Inquiries from billionaires looking to buy private islands surged by 25% in just the second half of 2025 alone. Why? Because when you have more money than you could ever spend, you stop buying things. You start buying sovereignty. Let's get into it. Part 1. Why are billionaires buying islands? Before we get to the islands themselves, let's answer the fundamental question. Why? Why does someone with $10 billion, $50 billion, or $100 billion decide that what they really need is their own island? The answer is more complex and more fascinating than you might think. Reason 1. Privacy is the new billionaire luxury. In the age of smartphones, social media, satellite cameras, and 24-hour news cycles, true privacy has become almost impossible for the ultra-wealthy. Their movements are tracked. Their purchases are reported. Their faces are recognized everywhere they go. A private island solves all of that. The water, IS, the security perimeter. There are no paparazzi on a boat 3 miles offshore. There are no drones because you own the airspace. There is no public access because you own every inch of land. For a modern billionaire, a private island is the only place on Earth where they can truly disappear. Reason 2. Sovereignty. They're not buying real estate, they're buying a kingdom. This is the part that most people miss. When a billionaire buys a private island, they're not just buying land. In many cases, they're buying the ability to make their own rules, to control who comes in and who goes out, to build whatever they want, to live by their own laws within the bounds of whatever nation the island falls under, and often to choose specifically which nation that is based on tax laws, regulatory freedom, and political stability. Larry Ellison didn't just buy a beautiful island in Hawaii. He bought 98% of an entire island, including its 2 hotels, its infrastructure, its utilities, and the ability to essentially run a miniature nation-state. He controls the land, the power, the water, and the policy of Lanai. That's not REA. Island 10, Breku, Channel Islands, the Gothic castle that Tax built. Not all private islands are in the tropics, and not all private island stories are about tech billionaires and sustainability. Some are about something much older, much more European. Privacy, wealth preservation, and a castle. Breku is a 74-acre island in the English Channel, just off the coast of the tiny island of Sark, which is itself one of the most unusual places in the British Isles. In 1993, British twin brothers Sir David and Sir Frederick Barclay, the famously reclusive media billionaires who own the Daily Telegraph newspaper and various luxury hotel and retail businesses, paid approximately $4.5 million for Breku. What they built on it is extraordinary. They commissioned the construction of a mock Gothic castle, complete with turrets, dramatic stone walls, and all the architectural drama of a medieval fortress. They engineered the island's landscape from scratch, shaving cliff edges, creating lakes, and building shelter gardens in an environment so exposed to Atlantic weather that almost nothing had previously been able to grow there. They planted vineyards. They built a chapel. They installed a helicopter landing pad. They created their own private universe in the English Channel, a 74-acre personal kingdom that was simultaneously a home, a tax domicile, and a fortress against the intrusions of the modern world. The Barclay brothers were famously private. They rarely gave interviews. They rarely appeared in public. Breca was the physical manifestation of that philosophy, a place that said, in stone and sea, that they wa. Island 9, Dunk Island, Australia, the climate-proof play. Of all the private island purchases on this list, this one might be the most forward-thinking, because Mike Cannon-Brookes didn't buy Dunk Island despite its problems. He bought it because of them. Mike Cannon-Brookes is the co-founder and CEO of Atlassian, the Australian enterprise software company, with a net worth of approximately $7.8 billion. He is also one of the most vocal business advocates for climate action and renewable energy investment in the world. And in 2022, he found the perfect physical expression of that commitment. Dunk Island sits off the coast of Queensland in northern Australia, not far from the Great Barrier Reef. It is 147 hectares, roughly 970 acres, of extraordinary tropical beauty. It once operated as a thriving luxury resort. Then, in 2011, Cyclone Yasi hit, and hit hard. The resort was devastated. The island was abandoned. It cycled through failed redevelopment attempts for over a decade. By the time Cannon-Brookes came along, it was a textbook distressed asset. He paid $23 to $24 million. But here's the genius of the Cannon-Brookes approach. While every previous developer looked at Dunk Island's cyclone damage as a liability, Cannon-Brookes looked at it as a blank canvas. His plan is to rebuild the island as an eco-luxury resort specifically designed to be climate resilient, built to withstand future cyclones, powered by renewable energy, positioned as a live demonstration of what climate-proof, sustainable luxury tourism actually looks like in practice. CO World magazine described the strategic vision in March 2026, leverage the location near the Great Barrier Reef as both a draw for ultra-high net worth guests and a live demo project for climate-resilient tourism. This is the new frontier of private island ownership. Not just buying beauty, not just buying privacy, but buying the opportunity to prove something, to demonstrate that luxury and sustainability are not opposites, that the most beautiful places on Earth can be protected while being experienced. That climate action is not a sacrifice. It is the ultimate form of intelligent long-term investment. Dunk Island may be the most important private island purchase of the decade, not because of what it costs, but because of what it might prove. Island 8, Palm Beach, Florida, the $150 million mystery purchase. Not all private island purchases come with a name attached, and sometimes the mystery is the most fascinating part of the story. In May 2024, a 2.3-acre parcel of dredged land in the Palm Beach Intracoastal Waterway sold for $150 million. The buyer used a Delaware LLC, a legal structure specifically designed to obscure the identity of the true owner. The seller had paid $85 million for the same piece of land just 3 years earlier. That is a $65 million profit in 3 years on 2.3 acres. The identity of the buyer stayed secret for days after the transaction. Investigations into the LLC structure eventually produced some leads, but the true beneficial owner has never been definitively confirmed in public reporting. This anonymous $150 million transaction tells you something important about the private island and ultra-luxury real estate market in 2026. According to Social Life magazine's research, approximately 70% of all ultra-luxury real estate transactions above $50 million now occur completely off-market. The best properties, including private islands, never appear on any public listing. They circulate privately among family offices, private wealth advisors, and the personal networks of the ultra-wealthy. The public finds out, if they find out at all, only after the deal is done. Palm Beach as a whole has experienced the most dramatic price appreciation of any billionaire real estate market in America, driven by a mass tax migration of ultra-wealthy individuals from New York and California. Property prices have risen 117% in just 5 years, and the private island parcels with Palm Beach's Intracoastal Waterway have appreciated even faster because they offer something that no mainland property can: water on every side and privacy that money alone cannot otherwise guarantee. The anonymous $150 million buyer understood something that all serious ultra-wealth asset managers understand in 2026. Land that cannot be replicated. A private island parcel in one of America's most exclusive coastal markets appreciates differently than any other asset. It doesn't just go up in value. It transcends normal market logic entirely. Island 7, La Cala, Fiji, the Red Bull billionaire's eco-paradise. In 2003, Dietrich Mateschitz, the Austrian billionaire who co-founded Red Bull and built it into one of the most recognized brands on Earth, paid $10 million for a 3,500-acre island in Fiji called La Cala. He bought it from the Forbes family. Yes, that Forbes family, who had owned it since the 1970s. At $10 million, it seemed almost reasonable. What Mateschitz did with it was anything but ordinary. He transformed La Cala into what is widely considered one of the finest private island resorts on the entire planet. 3,500 acres of virtually untouched tropical rainforest, volcanic mountainside, coconut plantations, and white sand beaches. He added an 18-hole championship golf course, a world-class wellness and spa center, 5 restaurants and bars ranging from beachside barbecues to fine dining, a 2,400-meter private airstrip capable of handling private jets, an accommodation for guests in extraordinary overwater and hillside villas that blend seamlessly with the natural environment. The philosophy behind La Cala was sustainability and vertical integration taken to an extraordinary level. Mateschitz created an almost entirely self-sufficient ecosystem. The island grows much of its own food through organic farming, generates its own power, and operates as what CO World described as a turnkey islandist brand that sells not just seclusion, but a curated narrative of sustainability and untouched luxury. After Mateschitz passed away in October 2022, La Cala remained in the family's control. Nightly rates started around $3,200 per night to rent the entire island exclusively for your private group. As several billionaires have done, the cost runs into millions per week. $10 million in 2003. One of the world's greatest private island resorts today. La Cala is what visionary investment in an extraordinary location looks like when the money is matched by the imagination. Island 6, Hans Lalick, U.S. Virgin Islands. Larry Page's OFF Grid Lab. Google co-founder Larry Page, with a net worth of approximately $246 billion, doesn't own just one private island. He curates a portfolio, and the centerpiece of that portfolio is the Hans Lalick Islands in the U.S. Virgin Islands, just off the northern shore of St. Thomas. In 2014, Page paid around $23 million to acquire Great Hans Lalick Island and its smaller neighbor, Little Hans Lalick. There is no public ferry access to the islands. The shoreline is lined with reefs that make casual approach by boat difficult. The combination of natural and acquired isolation makes Hans Lalick one of the most private addresses in the entire Caribbean. But what makes Larry Page's ownership interesting is what CO World magazine described in March 2026 as the off-grid test lab approach. Page has invested in advanced satellite communications, renewable energy infrastructure, and digital systems that allow him to maintain full business operations, running one of the world's largest technology companies, from complete physical isolation in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. This is the modern billionaire paradox. They want to be physically disconnected from the world while remaining digitally connected to everything. They want to be unreachable in person while remaining fully in control of their global empires. The private island, with the right technology infrastructure, makes both possible simultaneously. For $23 million, which for Larry Page represents less than 0.01% of his net worth, he purchased complete physical privacy, Caribbean paradise, and a living laboratory for the kind of off-grid technology infrastructure that may become increasingly important in the years ahead. Of all the private island and estate purchases on this list, none has generated more controversy, more fascination, and more questions about what extreme wealth really means than Mark Zuckerberg's ongoing acquisition and construction project on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. Since 2014, Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan have been quietly buying land on Kauai's North Shore. Quietly at first, then less quietly. The total land purchased now exceeds 1,300 acres. The total money spent has surpassed $170 million. And what is being built on that land has sparked a genuine national conversation about land rights, tech billionaire power, and what it means when one person owns more land than most Hawaiian families will ever see. The estate, when complete, will include approximately 30 residential buildings, a working farm, its own energy infrastructure, high-tech security systems covering every perimeter, and according to multiple reports, extensive underground bunkers and escape tunnels capable of providing self-sufficient shelter for an extended period. Let that land on you for a moment. Mark Zuckerberg, one of the most powerful men in the world, is building underground bunkers on his private Hawaiian estate. This is not paranoia for its own sake. This is the logical conclusion of what extreme wealth, combined with a genuine assessment of civilizational risk, leads to. When you have $170 billion and you're paying attention to the state of the world, you prepare. The project has not been without controversy. Native Hawaiian families accused Zuckerberg of using legal mechanisms called quiet title actions to force out native landowners with ancient land claims. Zuckerberg eventually dropped those actions after public backlash, but the damage to his public perception in Hawaii was significant. What Zuckerberg is building in Kauai is not a holiday home. It is not a resort. It is a privately funded, technologically advanced, self-sufficient compound designed to be. Not every private island owner is a tech titan or a hedge fund billionaire. Some are magicians. David Copperfield, the world's most commercially successful illusionist with a net worth of around $1 billion, didn't just buy one private island in the Bahamas. He bought 11 private islands, anchored by the 700-acre main island of Musha Cay, all grouped together in the stunning Exuma's island chain and branded collectively as the islands of Copperfield Bay. Musha Cay is what happens when a man who has spent his entire career creating impossibly magical experiences decides to apply that same philosophy to a place. The island has 5 villa compounds, each with their own private beach. There is a beachfront movie theater. There are treasure hunts. There is a sandbar that appears from the ocean and then disappears back beneath the waves with the tides. The entire experience is theatrical, curated, and deeply personal. It reflects exactly who David Copperfield is. You cannot book a room at Musha Cay. You cannot book a villa. You book the entire island, all of it, for your private group, for a minimum of 1 week. The cost: over $300,000 per week. Exclusive use of 11 private islands, 5 private beaches, a full-time staff of 30, custom culinary experiences, and whatever theatrical surprises Copperfield himself has arranged for your stay. The guest list over the years has included John Travolta, Oprah Winfrey, and some of the world's most powerful business leaders. Because when you rent Musha Cay, you are not going on holiday. You are stepping into a world that someone has spent millions of dollars and decades of imagination creating for you. And that is exactly what extreme wealth can buy that nothing else can. Not just luxury, but magic. Some islands are just beautiful, and some islands carry a story so powerful, so romantic, so mythological, that the story itself becomes worth more than the land. Skorpios is that island. Skorpios is a 74-acre jewel in the Ionian Sea off the west coast of Greece. It was owned for decades by Aristotle Onassis, the legendary Greek shipping billionaire who was, in his time, possibly the most glamorous rich man in the world. He married Jackie Kennedy on this island in 1968. Elizabeth Taylor visited. Maria Callas was a regular. The island hosted some of the most extraordinary gatherings of the 20th century's wealthy and famous elite. Aristotle Onassis is long gone, but the legend of Skorpios only grew. And in 2013, that legend was sold. Ekaterina Rybolovleva, daughter of Russian billionaire Dmitry Rybolovlev, purchased Scorpios for a reported $153 million. Her father then committed an estimated additional $200 million to transform the island into what is planned to be Europe's first ultra-luxury island resort, with luxury villas, a spa, vineyards, an amphitheater for outdoor performances, and a harbor capable of docking the world's largest superyachts. When fully operational, a week on Scorpios is expected to cost approximately 1 million euros. That is not a typo. 1 million euros per week. The mathematics of this island are extraordinary. Aristotle Onassis originally bought it for around $12,500 in 1963. It sold for $153 million in 2013, with $200 million additional investment. The total committed by 2026 exceeds $353 million. And the legend, Jackie Kennedy, Greek mythology, Onassis success keeps appreciating faster than the land itself. Scorpios proves that on an island, you're not just buying real estate, you're buying history. And history, it turns out, is priceless. If Necker Island represents the romantic vision of private island ownership, Lanai represents something entirely different, something much larger, something almost governmental. In 2012, Oracle founder Larry Ellison, at the time the third richest man in the world, paid approximately $300 million to acquire 98% of the entire Hawaiian island of Lanai. Not a part of an island, not a stretch of beach, 98% of an entire island, including its 2 luxury Four Seasons resorts, its championship golf courses, its infrastructure, and the de facto governance of its 3,000 resident population. Visual capitalists described it perfectly. If you own the land, the utilities, the hospitality, and the policy margin, you're not just a landlord. You're running a miniature nation-state. And Ellison immediately said about running it like one. He began transforming Lanai into a living laboratory for sustainable technology. He invested in solar panels and battery storage to move the island toward clean energy independence. He promoted organic farming to reduce food imports. He funded educational initiatives for the local population. He built high-speed internet infrastructure across the island. Lanai is Ellison's vision for what a technologically advanced, sustainably run community could look like. It is simultaneously a luxury destination. The Four Seasons Lanai is rated among the finest resorts in the entire Pacific, and a proof of concept for how technology can transform isolated communities. The locals have complicated feelings about having a single billionaire as their de facto landlord and community organizer. But nobody can deny the scale of the investment or the ambition of the vision. $300 million bought Larry Ellison something that no amount of money can normally buy: the ability to reshape an entire community according to your own philosophy. Island 1, Necker Island, BVI, the island that started all. If there is one private island that defines the entire concept for modern billionaires, it is Necker Island, owned by Sir Richard Branson, founder of the Virgin Group. And the origin story is almost unbelievable. In 1979, Richard Branson was 28 years old. He had money, but not billionaire money. Not yet. He went to the British Virgin Islands looking for a romantic getaway and fell in love with Necker Island, a 74-acre paradise in the middle of the Caribbean. He asked how much it cost. The asking price was $6 million. Branson offered $180,000. The sellers laughed at him, but eventually, because the island had been sitting unsold, they accepted $180,000 on the condition that Branson developed it within 5 years. He kept his word. He built the Great House, an open-air Balinese-style villa that sits at the top of the island and can accommodate up to 40 guests. He added 6 Bali high houses around the island. He built turtle conservation programs, flamingo sanctuaries, and one of the most extraordinary private resort experiences in the world. Today, Necker Island rents for approximately $155,000 per night for the whole island. Its guest list over the years reads like a who's who of global power: Barack Obama, Princess Diana, Nelson Mandela, Google founders, Hollywood A-listers, and billionaires from every industry. The island has survived 2 hurricanes. Hurricane Irene in 2011 burned down the Great House. It was rebuilt. Hurricane Irma in 2017 devastated it again. It was rebuilt again. Branson refused to leave because Necker isn't just a property. It's the physical embodiment of who Richard Branson is as a person and a businessman. $180,000 in 1979 to $80 million today. That is what vision in an island can do. So what does all of this mean? Beyond the extraordinary price tags, the famous names, and the jaw-dropping locations, what does the private island boom of 2026 actually tell us about the world we live in? I think it tells us 3 things. First, extreme wealth is accelerating. The global private island market is projected to reach $7.8 billion in value by 2033. Inquiries surged 25% in just the second half of 2025. The prices being paid, $150 million for 2.3 acres in Palm Beach, $353 million committed to a Greek island, $170 million for a Hawaiian compound. These are numbers that were unimaginable 20 years ago. The concentration of wealth at the very top of the global economy is creating a class of buyer for whom 9-figure recreational purchases are rational financial decisions. And that class is growing. Second, privacy is becoming the world's most valuable luxury. In a world of total digital connectivity, surveillance capitalism, and a permanent record of social media, the ability to completely disappear, to be unreachable, to control who can access you physically, this is worth more than almost anything money can buy. Private islands are not just real estate. They're the physical infrastructure of extreme privacy. And as the world gets more connected, more monitored, and more intrusive, that privacy will only become more valuable. Third, the smartest billionaires are buying islands for reasons that go beyond luxury. Larry Ellison is building a sustainable nation-state. Mark Zuckerberg is building a bunker. Mike Cannon-Brookes is building a climate laboratory. Larry Page is building an off-grid tech hub. These are not people buying islands because they want a nice beach holiday. These are some of the most strategically intelligent people on the planet. From Richard Branson's $180,000 gamble that became an $80 million Caribbean legend, to Larry Ellison's $300 million island nation-state, to the anonymous buyer who paid $150 million for 2.3 acres of Florida sand, to Zuckerberg's Hawaiian fortress with its underground bunkers, to the Red Bull billionaire's Fijian eco-paradise. These are not just real estate purchases. They're statements about what the world's most powerful people value, about what they fear, about what they're preparing for, and about what they believe the future looks like. Beyond the price tag, private islands are the clearest window we have into how extreme wealth thinks, and thinks long-term. Now I want to hear from you. Which island on today's list surprised you the most? If you could own any private island in the world, which one would you choose? Drop your answer in the comments below. If this video opened your eyes to a world most people never see, please smash that like button and subscribe for new top 10 videos every single week. Until next time, I'll see you on the other side.